Top 10 worst neighborhoods in Bradenton, Florida. On today's video, we're going to see what the worst hoods in Bradenton, Florida are. Now, this is a city that has beautiful beaches, but it also has homeless camps and very dangerous neighborhoods, and one of the highest overdose death rates in the entire state of Florida. The area has a lot of great things going for it. There's always somebody that says, "Oh man, you making my hood look bad, dog." No, yo mama making the hood look bad by giving birth to you, son. It's always interesting how people are mad at me, the YouTube creator, for making these top 10 lists, but they're not mad at the people that are doing horrible things in their communities. It's the homeless camps, it's the trap houses, it's the criminals and junkies that make your neighborhood look bad. I'm just the one reporting on it. And my rent here in Lakewood Ranch is very expensive because it's an exclusive area. Hey, I gotta keep these lights on, so you can't be mad at me for trying to make a living by making these videos. You ought to be mad at the people that are making your neighborhood actually be bad, not the people who are reporting on your neighborhood being bad. Rather, I make this video or not, your neighborhood sucks either way. So I'm not changing, I'm not taking anything from your neighborhood, but I am giving back to your neighborhood the opportunity to make sure that people have this information so that when they move to Bradenton, Florida, they don't end up next door to you. And Bradenton is a city of two completely different sides. On one side, beautiful beaches, incredible place to live. And on the other side is Palmetto. So we have to talk about the good, which we do plenty of on this channel. But on today's particular video, we have to tell you guys, if you're moving to Bradenton, or if you're just visiting Bradenton, the places you definitely don't want to go to. And believe me, there are some bad neighborhoods here. And we're not just going by city limits. This is the Bradenton metropolitan area. That includes neighborhoods, it includes unincorporated areas. We're talking about the Bradenton metropolitan area here because the city of Bradenton doesn't have actual neighborhoods. If we were going to go by crime rate alone, South Bradenton would take the list by far. They've had 4 murders in a few months in just a little area. But we're not just looking at crime rates. We're looking at accessibility, transportation, things to do in the neighborhood. And while South Bradenton is the most dangerous neighborhood by crime rate, it's also in the geographical center of the city, which means that if you live here, there's a lot of things you could do with your life. You're close to dealerships, restaurants. Even though I don't live in South Bradenton, I end up here all the time because there's so many important infrastructure in this part of the city. So despite the fact that it has the highest crime rate, if you live here, there's also some benefits. So at least South Bradenton has some good things going for it. Despite the fact it has the highest crime rate, it's not number 1 on our list. Number 1 is Rubonia, located where Interstate 75 meets 275, right outside of the Skyway Bridge. This north end of Bradenton offers very little. It's far from the city core, but it's still a bad area. A tight-knit community that's very wary of outsiders. I've noticed driving through this neighborhood that when they see a car they don't know, they point at it as if they're on the lookout. They're on point. They're worried about people who they don't know. It's a very tight-knit community, and if you're moving to Bradenton, this is possibly not where you want to end up. It's an older part of the metropolitan area. It's kind of run down and unsightly, and many people that live here report to me that there's a lot of gang activity as well. It's a type of neighborhood where you blast a 3 6 Mafia mixtape till 3 in the morning and drive a squatted Tahoe that has 400,000 miles. A lot of people in this neighborhood also tell me that they have a lot of baby mama drama. And if your daughter gets knocked up from a dude that's from this neighborhood, you can be certain that he will not be paying child support. And to the people who say, "We don't have any gangs here," that's a lie. Yeah, we just drove by a bridge covered in gang graffiti, so shut the crap up. Number 2 is Memphis, located on the north side of the Manatee River. This is another crappy area of Bradenton that you definitely want to avoid. This particular part of the metro area is devoid of all the great things that Bradenton has to offer, but it's abundant in poverty, older rundown neighborhoods, and of course, gang activity. Can we please get a "why you in my hood dog" from somebody here?
Hey, dog. Hey, this guy's in my hood, dog. Hey, this guy made a video talking smack about my hood, dog. I ain't gonna put up with that crap, dog. Hey, this guy don't even know what he's talking about, dog. We straight out shit, could.
If you've ever had a car or a girlfriend stolen from you in Bradenton, Florida, this is probably where it ended up. And if you knew the things that have been done to it, you probably wouldn't even want it back. Yes, Miss Johnson, this is Officer Larry. We found your vehicle in Memphis. Let me just tell you, there were some things that happened inside of this vehicle that you may not even want your car back now, ma'am. We found a possum carcass. There's a OJ the Juice Man mixtape in here, ma'am. I'm just going to have to tell you some of the things that happened to your car while it was in Memphis. You may not even want the car back anymore, ma'am. Number 3 is Palmetto, Florida, right across from downtown Bradenton on the north side of the Manatee River. While the town does have a beautiful historic district and a kind of neat historical downtown, most of the city is in bad shape. Homelessness and addiction is rampant, and there's homeless camps everywhere. Every single empty lot, even the mangroves, are full of homeless camps. You'll see people that are homeless sleeping in their cars, and some of these homeless camps are almost shanty towns where dealing and gangbanging is the norm of life. You're going to be on top of your senses, aware of your surroundings. The bad vibes are ever present. Number 4 is Oniko, originally meaning one company. At least that's one of the theories of how this area got this name. It's an area right outside of Bradenton. It's an unincorporated community, and this area has a lot of problems. Entire homeless camps. After SB 1718, the neighborhood really got bad. Some of the businesses that were open back then have closed now, and as the Hispanic community moved out, businesses like this that were open are now closed and have become kind of open homeless camps. This community was bad many years ago, but in the last year it's really got worse, with many of the Latino businesses losing up to 80% of their customers after SB 1718, and homeless people from other parts of the metropolitan area have started to move into this area. The decline of this neighborhood has been painful to watch as the city of Bradenton harasses the homeless people and forces them to leave. Many have moved into places like this that are unincorporated because there isn't a city to go after the homeless people. I support a lot of small businesses here. There's great little Mexican restaurants, there's tire shops, there's a lot of business here you can go to and support, but unfortunately, it's really going downhill in this part of Bradenton. Despite the homelessness, vagrancy, crime, and other issues, a house in this neighborhood will cost you at least $340,000 in today's market. One of the problems that this area is having now is homeless camps. They recently knocked down all of the homeless camps in the city of Bradenton, and that forced a lot of the people that were homeless in Bradenton into places like Oniko. This particular homeless camp that we're looking at now is literally across from an elementary school. This area has needle-infected homeless camps 200 feet away from an elementary school. It's a terrible situation that this community is in right now, and it's really an embarrassment because there's so much potential here. You're part of a city that has beaches. This really doesn't make sense why a city that has so much potential has all these problems going on. I really feel like there's potential in this community, but every day it seems to go even further into decline. These homeless camps usually go hand in hand with addiction, and many of the people that end up in this situation are usually dealing with mental health crisis and definitely some type of addiction problem. Number 5 is South Bradenton. This area has had 4 murders just around the Pigtown neighborhood in the last few months. So when it comes to dangerous and violent crime as well as drug activity, this is definitely the hot spot in the entire city of Bradenton. But because it's centrally located with access to gas stations, restaurants and businesses, I didn't want to put it too high on the list because there are some good things to be had here. But despite its centralized location, if you end up living in this part of Bradenton, you will find that crime and violence and addiction will be part of your everyday life. Just look at this particular mobile home and how many cameras they have installed. Living here, you're constantly dealing with the criminal element of drug activities. It's really sad sometimes just to drive through here. You'll always see people panhandling. A lot of the criminal activity that takes place in Bradenton, the worst of it, happens here. People living here tell me that they're tired of snitching on the local dealers. The police knows where they are, but they simply do nothing about it. And one of the biggest frustrations that the residents in this community have, because I talk to them, they're worried that, hey, we've been snitching forever. The cops know where these people are at, but they never do anything about it. It's almost like the people that live here have to put up with the junkies, the dealers, and all of the criminal elements because law enforcement has no interest in defending the rights of the people that live in this very impoverished area. The snitch-a-thon isn't working because law enforcement knows that if they shut down one spot, it's just going to make things worse somewhere else. Once a neighborhood gets this bad, really, there's nothing you can do about making it better. The only option you really have as a resident is to make more money to move somewhere better. Without a doubt, South Bradenton definitely belongs on this list. The Samoset area is an area east of downtown Bradenton, and it is our number 6 worst neighborhood in the Bradenton area. East of US 41 along 301, this part of the city is again just known for being a poor area. It has a lot of gang activity, it has a lot of violent crime, and being in here, of course, like any other part of Bradenton, you see a lot of homelessness and addiction. And being an older neighborhood, it really doesn't have that much newer businesses, restaurants, and investments. It's all kind of just an older neighborhood that's run down. Because it is close to the urban core, it's going to be a dangerous area you definitely don't want to move into. At first glance, it seems quieter and just more calm than other neighborhoods in Bradenton, but don't let that fool you. You definitely want to be on alert in this part of the city. Number 7 is downtown Bradenton. To be honest, the downtown area really isn't much. A gathering place for panhandlers and homelessness. They should really have city planners go in here, get rid of some of the one-ways, maybe delete some of the roads, and just make this a more practical and useful place. It's a completely useless traffic gridlock during the winter and vacant during the summer, a grid pattern of stoplights that makes no sense. People simply don't go to downtown Bradenton. There aren't really great restaurants or great things to do, and it's not a place to hang out. Most of downtown Bradenton really is an embarrassment to the city. Number 8 is Bayshore Gardens. Despite being close to the water and some areas looking like a good neighborhood, in reality, this area has a lot of problems. You'll notice that there's a lot of vagrant people riding around on bicycles. A lot of people here report having things stolen off their properties all the time. Homelessness, addiction, and theft make the lives of the people in this part of Bradenton impossible or even unbearable. While the area offers everything you would want from a neighborhood as far as businesses and establishments, a lot of the crime in this neighborhood stems directly from homelessness and addiction. It's not uncommon for homeowners to complain that there's crackheads outside. Even driving through this part of the city, you have to be very careful as a lot of people are driving bicycles. A lot of them are not sober, and you have to be very careful not to hit a pedestrian. And most of the businesses are going to have homeless people vagrantly hanging around. Number 10 is Manatee Avenue East and the neighborhoods near it. Now, as you're driving on 64, which is Manatee Avenue, it might just look like a normal part of the city, but all of these empty lots that you're seeing here are full of homeless camps. As you're driving through here, it just looks like a normal place, but this is really a place that will fool you. A lot of those empty lots are going to have homeless camps. You're going to see people sleeping on those benches at night, and you'll find needles all through this area. It's very strange how, despite looking like a somewhat nice area, it's actually a pretty bad neighborhood. Perhaps it's the fact that there's a few public services in this area that attracts people to be here, or businesses like a Lowe's or a Home Depot. Whatever the case, there's something in this area that attracts a lot of homeless people. And where you're driving through here, it just looks like a normal part of Bradenton. But if you slow down and pay really careful attention, you'll notice that there's signs of addiction everywhere. You'll even find needles outside of bus stops. And it only gets worse as you approach downtown and start to see even more panhandlers. The west side of Manatee, on the other side of downtown, is a lot better with beautiful homes. But this little stretch of 64 heading into Bradenton is a pretty crappy drive. And at first, if you're just not paying attention, you may not notice it. It just takes driving on this road a few times and getting out and just being around, and you'll realize it's actually a pretty sketchy area, even though it doesn't really look like it. I think downtown is really the biggest disappointment about Bradenton. Unlike cities like Fort Myers that have turned their downtowns into attractive and walkable places, downtown Bradenton is just an unwalkable, unsafe, unpractical grid pattern. Very few places to even park your vehicle, and it seems like the downtown of the city could really use some better city planning to make it a more attractive place. Things like what has happened in Fort Myers, Florida, where they got rid of the one-ways. They turned some streets into areas where you can park your vehicle or walk as a pedestrian. And by making the downtown of the city more attractive, it really makes the city as a whole look like a better place. When you come to Bradenton for the first time and you see the downtown and all you notice is just panhandlers, homeless people everywhere, it really makes the city look bad. Many times people visiting the city or moving won't even give Bradenton a chance despite our amazing beaches like Anna Maria Island, simply because the bad impression they get from the city itself. Pushing the homeless and vagrant people into unincorporated adjacent communities hasn't really done much for us as well, because now it feels like not just the city or the inner city is bad, but even some of the suburban areas that wrap around Bradenton now look like slums too. Was there another neighborhood or area that you thought should have made my list, or did something that I put on this list make you feel offended? Now, if you live in that neighborhood, you really don't have a lot of merit. Everybody thinks the place where they live is the greatest place in the world. After all, why would you live there if you didn't think it was great? And again, you really can't be too mad at me, the creator, when it's you, the viewer, who clicked on this video. I don't see you commenting on my beach videos. I don't see you commenting on my nice neighborhood videos. Those videos are usually flops. It's videos like this that people like you click on, and then you complain about how I'm making your city look bad, even though all I'm doing is reporting, and it's actually you dang fools out there involved in all types of hood rattery that are really the ones making the city look bad. And I'm not even mad at the homeless and vagrant people, because I do feel that there has to be some type of social responsibility of why those people ended up in that situation. Most cities in the United States don't have that much homelessness. What is it in Bradenton? Is it the lack of opportunity? Is it the fact that people here are just coming from a different background? What makes Bradenton have so much homelessness and addiction? Because clearly this isn't a normal situation, it's an extreme situation. After interviewing many homeless people, I have found a pattern of people whose parents came down to Florida to retire and brought them very young to a place that was catering retirement but didn't offer job opportunities. The school systems didn't really care about those kids. So it seems like, at least for the youth, the education and opportunities are very limited in Florida, and that leads a lot of the youth to head in a wrong direction, or to just not have anything productive to do with their lives. But if you live here in Bradenton, I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions, since I've only lived here for 1 year. If Bradenton did something like Miami's Little Havana or like Fort Myers and just got better ideas from adjacent towns, the bones of downtown Bradenton aren't bad. There's a lot of character. It just needs to be utilized better, and some small changes have to be made with city planning so that the city can look more attractive. Because it's not a bad looking city, it's just impractical for a lot of reasons. I personally was an advocate of Fort Myers getting rid of the one-ways in downtown, and they actually did it. So sometimes these videos do have an impact on city planning. When somebody like myself, who's seen hundreds of cities and hundreds of places, realizes that there's something that needs to be changed in a city, it's probably a good indication. In the case of Fort Myers, they actually did the right thing, and it transformed their downtown from an unattractive area to now one of the hippest places to be in Southwest Florida. However, they haven't been able to get rid of the criminal elements. And all the time in Fort Myers, we hear cases of shootings, whether outside of nightclubs or disputes, or sometimes even random unexplained violence. Take Lake Worth, Florida, who turned their downtown into one of the most beautiful downtowns in Florida. Yet, it's completely crime infested, and the homeless people are brazen and aggressive, which means a lot of people are going to skip on going there, despite the fact it's a pretty neat downtown. Do you care to see a top 10 list of the best neighborhoods in the Bradenton area? Let me know, because I would actually enjoy to make that video a lot more than this video, but unfortunately this is the type of garbage that you guys want on YouTube. It's almost like there's somebody out there like, hey dawg, I don't really want to live in a nice place, dawg. I'm trying to live in the streets, dawg. I'm trying to find a hood, dawg. And then they find my video like, man, this is exactly what I was looking for, homie.